The Edge by Roland Smith, Chapter 8, The Team. I was gulping water as the 5 ropes were hurled over the cliff. I offered my water bottle to Zopa. He finished it off. Evening prayer had commenced. Elam was behind us, kneeling toward Mecca on a small prayer rug he had pulled out of his little pack. The ends of the ropes were curled at our feet like brightly colored snakes, each a different color. The sun was sinking behind the cliff. If the climbers didn't hurry, we'd be heading down the unstable scree to base camp using headlamps. Zopa and I tilted our heads back and shaded our eyes from the bright sun. 5 shadowy figures appeared on the edge with their backs to us. I wondered how Mom was going to handle the rappel, a free-fall race to the bottom or a synchronized controlled descent. Most climbers, me included, like the free-fall race. "We will see who is in control," Zopa said. "The climbers or the climb master?" They pushed off at the exact same moment. Apparently Mom was in control, synchronized, which is not that easy because the cliff routes are all different, even though the climbers are only strung 20 feet apart. They have to pay attention not only to their route, but to the rate of descent of the person next to them. Mom was in the middle, 2 climbers on her right, 2 on her left. She was controlling the descent with 15 to 20-foot pitches. At first the line was a little ragged, but by mid-cliff everyone seemed to have caught the rhythm. Push off, drop 20, push off. I'd done synchronized rappels many times, but I'd never seen it from the ground. It was an impressive thing to watch. They all touched down at the exact same moment. "Nice job," Mom congratulated them as they unhooked their harnesses and retrieved their ropes. The climbers were drenched in sweat. They took their helmets off. 3 guys and my breath caught in my throat. The girl shook out her long, damp black hair and smiled at me. Her eyes were pale blue. Her copper-colored arms were bare and chiseled. My legs went weak, and it wasn't from crab walking across the scree with 2 packs. She stripped off her climbing gloves and put her long-fingered hand out. "Bonjour, you must be Peak. I am Alessia, Charbonneau." I took her hand, speechless. This had never happened to me before. I thought I might have had a minor stroke. "I am a very big admirer of your father and your mother," Alessia said. She was still holding my hand, or maybe I wasn't letting go. I hadn't even glanced in the direction of the other climbers since I'd laid eyes on Alessia, but I could hear them chugging water and murmuring in the background, like Alessia and I weren't standing on the same slope or in the same country. That's when I realized I hadn't said a word to Alessia. "Say something." "Nice rappel." "Are you kidding me? Nice rappel? That's what comes out of your mouth?" "Your mother insisted," Alessia said. "She wanted to test our control after the difficult climb through the chimney. I thought I would get some rest when we arrived at camp. I did not sleep well last night because of my excitement. But Zopa—" She released my hand. It felt like someone had just cut my rope. How do you say a task maestro?" "Master. Taskmaster." "Ah, oui, my English is—" "Your English is excellent. My French is, well, non-existent." "You know Zopa?" "Yes." But of course, no one really knew Zopa. "I was on Everest with him." "You were on Everest?" Her blue eyes got that look. It was like I had just said I'd met God. I immediately regretted telling her because— "You reached the summit?" I shook my head. "I almost met God." She looked sympathetic, but not in the "you loser, if I had been on Everest, I would have made it to the top" sense, which I appreciated. "Just to be on Everest," she said wistfully. "It was great," I said. But in truth, it wasn't that great. It was cold, and there wasn't much air to breathe. Zopa was the climbing— she had to think about the word— master. Technically, my dad was in charge of the climb. Zopa was kind of the lead Sherpa. He's reached the summit many times. He did not tell us this. In fact, he did not say anything about his climbing experience. I wished I'd followed his lead. Why did he not have you climb the chimney? I wanted to shrug. If any of the other climbers had asked this, I would have shrugged, but I kept my shoulders where they were and said, he needed help with the gear. Alessia laughed. So, you were Zopa's Sherpa? Who's a Sherpa, mate? This came from another climber. He was a little older than me, Australian by his accent. Apparently, Alessia and I were not alone on the mountain. There were other climbers. The spell was broken. Peak was on Everest this year too, Alessia informed everyone. Now I really regretted saying the E word. The Aussie stuck out his huge hand. The name is Rafi Rounder. Why didn't you climb the chimney? I shrugged. I've been on Everest, Rafi continued, loud enough to be heard in Uzbekistan. Topped it a few weeks ago. Your Peak, right? You met your dad at base camp. Righteous dude. South side? Mom asked. He nodded. 15 to summit. Mom can spot a liar from 10 miles away. There are basically two routes up Everest, the southern route, which is in Nepal, and the northern route, which is in Tibet. We had climbed the northern route. There was no possible way Rafi could have met my dad in base camp on the south side in a different country. Didn't see you in base camp, Rafi said, suspiciously, glancing at Alessia with a slight grin. There were so many things I could have said. That's because we were on the northern route. You have to be at least 16 to climb the southern route, and I was 14 at the time. Or, that's because we weren't on the Nepal side, and neither were you. If we'd had a cell or satellite signal, I could have proved this in about 30 seconds. Everyone who summits Everest is listed, with the time and date of their summit, their climb group, and their age. I've checked this list every year since I was 7 years old. I didn't remember a Rafi Rounder on this list, and it was a short list. Base camp was crowded, I said. A lot of climbers this year. Mom gave me a smile. Zopa smiled too. Climbers are evaluated by their climbing skills, not by their mouths or past climbs. I'll say, Rafi said, it was like a shopping mall at Christmas. But I'm still surprised I didn't bump into you. He gave Alessia a sly look. It was obvious that Rafi had a crush on her and he was trying to crush me. I wondered if what Zopa had smelled was Rafi Rounder. Enough talk of Everest, Alessia said, to my relief, and introduced me to the two other climbers, Aki and Homa. I don't think they had any idea what had just been said during the exchange about Everest. Aki was from Japan. Homa was from Ukraine. They didn't appear to understand or speak much English, but they had bright, enthusiastic smiles. They were both 15 or 16 years old. We go now, Zopa said. Dark soon. This made me smile. Zopa's English was a lot better than that. Who was he trying to fool? Cagey monk. We started down the treacherous scree with Zopa and Mom in lead. Behind them were Ilam, Aki, and Homa, followed by Rafi and Alessia, who were walking side by side. Not easy on the loose rocks. I suspected, actually I hoped, that Rafi was trying to keep abreast of Alessia, and that Alessia was not trying to stay next to Rafi. I followed behind. I'm not sure why, but it seemed like the most comfortable place, at least on this trip. I wasn't feeling the drive that I usually feel during a climb, the scramble, the push to be first, to lead. When you climb alone, you are always in front. And to be truthful, I wasn't feeling my best. I was either exhausted or else I was coming down with something. Halfway down, we all turned on our headlamps. 2/3 of the way down, it was pitch dark. I stopped to readjust my pack and get a drink of water. There was no moon. 1,000,000 stars hung in the black sky. 7 headlamps bobbed down the scree in front of me. I turned around and looked back at the cliff. I wondered if the Shen was watching us. When I turned back around, I saw that one of the headlamps had stopped. I'd lost track of which light belonged to who. Or is that whom, Vincent? I figured the light belonged to Mom. I was sure she had plenty to say about Rafi and the other climbers, and we wouldn't really be able to talk at base camp. Tents have thin walls. I made my way toward her light slowly so we'd have plenty of space between us and the others. But it wasn't Mom. "Is all okay with you?" Alessia asked. "Yeah, fine. Just hanging back, thinking." "About Rafi?" "Who?" I joked. "The climber from Australia." It was a joke. "Oh," she said uncertainly. I guessed the joke didn't translate from English to French, or maybe people were more literal in France, or maybe Alessia was simply nice and didn't understand sarcasm. "I wasn't thinking about Rafi," I told her, which wasn't entirely true. "He is an oaf." "He's okay." Now, this was a complete lie, because he was an oaf, but I wanted her to think that I was nice. I was finding it a lot easier to talk to her in the dark. Picking my way across the scree without having to look at her blue eyes. "You have been climbing a long time?" Alessia asked. "Since I could walk. And you?" 10 years. "Your parents didn't mind you coming all the way to Afghanistan to climb?" "It is only my mother and I now, and this was not far for me to come. We live in Kabul, and I'm not alone out here." She pointed towards the lights. "You know Ilham? But did you meet Abdullah in camp?" "Yes. They were sent to keep an eye on me and provide security for the climb. I thought they were locals. I'm certain they are, or were at one time, but they've been working for my mother since she arrived here." "What does your mother do in Kabul?" "She is the French ambassador." I'd never met an ambassador or an ambassador's daughter. "What do you say to this?" I said, "No kidding," which I guess was marginally better than wow. "She has had this position for 2 years now," Alessia continued. "Before this, we were in Argentina. It is there that I really learned to climb." "Aconcagua?" "Yes, the Stone Sentinel. Aconcagua is one of the 7 summits, the tallest mountain on each continent. At one time, I wanted to top all 7, but after Everest, I wasn't sure about this goal." "It is a simple climb," Alessia said. "A walk up, really." 22,841 feet is a dangerous climb, even if it is a walk up," I said. "Breaking your ankle is the only real danger. It is like this." She pointed at the scree. She was moving across the loose rocks remarkably well, with a light step, not unlike a Shen. "I saw a snow leopard today when I got here." I couldn't seem to stop myself from trying to impress her, which made me feel a little more sympathetic toward Rafi. She must have thought all guys were idiots. "No," she exclaimed. "On the cliff face. It was a long ways off. Zopa saw it too. I'm not sure why I added this part, but I suspect it was because I wasn't sure if she actually believed me about Everest after Rafi's comments." "I have never seen one in the wild. They are very rare here, but I've heard their population has increased because of the war." "Why would that be?" "The war did not touch the Pamirs. The hunters were fighting, leaving the mountains in peace." "Then I guess this is a good place for a peace climb." "You are very lucky to have seen one. I am climbing next to you with your luck, if you don't mind." "I don't mind at all," I said.